evidence I shall give
the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the
and
truth.
nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neda. Sit down and make yourself comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Neda, good afternoon. Can I ask you please to give the Chairman your full name?
Flora Neda.
Thank you. And can I say, first of all, thank you very much to you for coming here today and assisting us with our investigations. We're very grateful to you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now, I know that at times during your evidence it may be difficult to remember things. If you need a break at any time, we can take a break, and we will aim, I think, to sit in 45-minute chunks so that you can have an opportunity to take a break.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
If I ask a question and you want me to repeat it or put the question in a different way, then I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Just all you have to do is say, could you please say it again, or something like that.
Okay.
Also, when I'm asking questions and you're answering questions, I might be looking at my screen or at your statement. It doesn't mean I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm listening very, very interestedly in what you're telling us.
Okay.
Can I start, Mrs. Neda, with your first witness statement, which is IWS quintuple 0887. Is that the first page of your first witness statement?
Yeah.
Yes. And can I ask you, please, to go to the last page of that statement, which is at page 30. And you'll see a signature on that page above a date 3rd of June 2018. Can you confirm that that's your signature?
Yes.
It is. And have you had an opportunity to read this statement recently?
Yeah.
And can you confirm that the contents are true? Yes. Thank you. And I'm going to confirm for the record that there are no exhibits to this statement.
Yes.
Now, you've also, I think, prepared a second witness statement for the inquiry, dated the 16th of October 2018, and that has a reference of IWS quadruple 01133. Quadruple 01133. Is that the first page of your second witness statement?
Yes.
And if you go to the next page, which should be page 2, there's a signature above a date of the 16th of October 2018. Is that your signature?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to read this statement recently?
Yeah.
And can you confirm that its contents are true? Yes, thank you. Now, we've heard some evidence this morning from your son, Farhad. And I don't want to repeat a lot of what he's told us very helpfully this morning, but I'm going to go over some of the material on the ground again. Your family home at the time of the fire in June 2017 was flat 205 on the 23rd floor.
Yes.
And I think you moved into Grenfell Tower on the 17th of May. Well, can you tell me when you did move into Grenfell Tower?
17th of May 1999.
1999.
Yeah.
Right. Now, your son has confirmed that you were tenants of the flat in Grenfell Tower.
Yeah.
Do you remember who the landlords were?
Kensington and Chelsea.
Right. The council.
Council, yeah.
The council. Now, before I turn to the events of 14th of June 2017, I want to ask you about what you knew or thought you should do in the event of a fire. Can I ask that the witness first please be shown INQ 6093? My first question, Mrs. Neda, is have you ever seen this sign or something like it before?
Yeah. It's just few months before the fire,
Right. And where?
after refurbishment.
Okay, after the refurbishment. And where did you see this sign?
It was next to the door lift.
On your floor?
Yes.
Did you see this sign anywhere else in Grenfell Tower at that time?
I didn't remember.
Okay.
On the other floors, I didn't remember.
Apart from this notice, were you aware of any information from any organisation or any individual, any person, about what you should do if there was a fire in the block?
Not really, but sometimes my son always watching TV, and he has lots of information about the fire, everything, while he watching. But always he said, when the fire happened, you shouldn't use the lift. And we never think about to stay at flat, because I always think if the fire happened, how we could do. But we never think about this one, to what we should do.
Right. I see. Just following that up a little bit more, as at June 2017, at the time of the fire, what was your understanding of what you should do if there was a fire somewhere in the block?
We have to leave the building, because long time ago, when we came first time, every floor had a whiteboard in front of the lift, and there was lots of letters. They put the TMO information and everything, including the fire regulation, London fire safety. It was a long time ago, but I can't remember what year was. After maybe 10 years or 12 years, we couldn't see anymore that letters or the paper they put on the board. It was completely empty. And after refurbishment, we just got this one few months before the fire. That's it.
Did you see this sign anywhere else in the building?
Which one?
The sign that we have on the screen
This
here.
one. I didn't remember for any floor, but maybe in ground floor, maybe. I can't remember.
Okay. And when, in the old days, you had this whiteboard, where was that in the building?
Every floor has got, when you come out from the lift, before the refurbishment, there was in front of the lift was wall, and the board was hanging on the wall.
Right.
It was like a screen, glass board.
I'm going to show you a notice and see if you recognize it. Could the witness please be shown INQ quintuple 0500? Yes. I'm so, that's what I said. Forgive me, I'm corrected by Mr. Rawat. IWS quintuple 0500. Mrs. Neda, do you recognize this notice? I'll help.
Something like that, but I can't remember, but something like that. They stick on the exactly this board. Always they put the sign or some information when something happened to the building. It might be that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you ever have any discussions with the TMO or anybody else about a personal evacuation plan for you in case there was a fire in the block?
I didn't speak with the TMO or someone else. The only person I was always keep asking and tell my husband. When the first time we got that flat and we moved on the flat, I was thinking there is no way out if the fire happened. And I was asking too many times if the fire happened, especially our electric meter was just next to our outdoor. And I was thinking always if that one if electric shock happened and the fire door, how we could leave the building. I was always asking him, and he was saying, I hope to not happen that. But we never think and never ask what we have to do. But during the refurbishment, we had always every week meeting. All the residents had meeting with the TMO, and we are keep telling them the building is not safe because of the fire exit. We only just have a staircase, not any other ways to go out if the fire happened. They didn't listen to us.
Did you go to those meetings?
Yeah, I was going there.
And did they respond to the point that was made about not feeling safe that you described because of the fire exit?
No.
Now, can I turn to the night of the fire itself, the night of the 13th and then the 14th of June, 13th morning of the 14th? If you go to paragraph 20 of your witness statement, your first witness statement, please, at the bottom of page 4, you say there that you'd been visiting your sister, Zara, and her family on the evening of the 13th of June 2017. And you came back to Grenfell Tower in the early hours of the following morning, 14th of June. And at paragraph 22, you say that you've seen CCTV image of you entering the tower at 12:52. Can I, having shown you that and reminding you of that, can I just ask you, when you first came into the tower at that time, did you come through the main entrance?
Yeah.
You did. And did you, when you came into the main entrance, did you hear anything unusual?
It was normal, as usual. Everything around the tower was normal.
Right.
Not fire engine, not the people was. It was normal. Mm-hmm. We couldn't see anything. Not noise. It was noise from the outside ventilation. I don't know which one was that. But everything was normal when we entered the building.
You say there was noise from the outside ventilation. When you came into the lobby, could you hear noise on the outside of the building, a ventilation noise on the outside of the building?
There is always, I don't know what was that, always like fan was running or turn on 24 hours. It was always been there,
Right.
and we used to it that. But the inside the building, when we went there, even ground floor, inside the ground floor, in front of the lift, also was okay, which we used the lift.
Yes.
And the only noise when we reached to 23rd floor, our floor, we just noticed there was noise.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about that in a moment. But before I do, can I just go back to the outside ventilation noise that you said was running on 24 hours? When you were standing outside the building, do you remember where that noise, that fan noise, would come from normally?
Mostly in front of the in front of the entrance. It was the top of the entrance, something, and also next to, in front of the entrance, there was we couldn't see. There was basement or something.
Yes. Yeah.
They built it like a windows for that one on the floor. The noise was coming from there as well, and also the hair was coming from there as well.
Yes. Thank you. I see. Now, in paragraph 23 of your statement on page 5, you describe how you came home and the lifts were working, and you all went straight up to your flat in the lift. And then you say, when the lift door opened on our floor, we could hear a noise coming from the ventilation system. Now, I'm going to show you a photograph of the inside of the lobby in the building. But before I do, can I just ask you, Mrs. Neda, are you all right to be shown photographs of inside Grenfell Tower?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Well, let me show you two photographs side by side, if I can. BLA *02513 and *02514. Now, I should just tell you, Mrs. Neda, these photographs were taken after the fire from or on floor 6. But I just want to ask you about the vents that you heard when you came out onto floor 23, having come up in the lift. The left-hand photograph on the screen that you see is looking with the lifts on the left-hand side towards the north of the building. Yeah. And on the right-hand photograph, it's at the other end of the lobby, looking in the other direction. And you can see that the vents are towards the floor there. So when you're describing noise coming from the vents, I know it's a different floor, but are those the vents or the kind of vents that you heard the noise coming from?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, on page 6 of your statement, if you just turn to page 6, at paragraph 28, you say, it was a scary noise and it was extremely loud. And then you say, we were unable to hear one another speak outside on the landing because of the noise. Was it as loud as, for example, a vacuum cleaner?
It is, yes, it is. It was very loud. If I say like airplane, that much, we couldn't hear each other when we talk with each other in front of the fan. That's why it was very scary, and I was just my son to straight away call, otherwise I couldn't go to sleep.
Right.
And even we couldn't hear each other, the noise. And we closed the door, we talk inside the flat. And even when Farhad called to the TMO, and we were inside the flat, and the front door was closed, you could hear
Right.
very loud those noises.
Had you ever heard it? Had you ever heard those vents making as loud a noise as that before?
It is like accelerating noise. It's pushing and gets slowly back and pushing. How can I explain that?
Like a kind of pulse.
Yeah. It's like accelerating the car.
Right.
Like that, the noise is loud, and after that gets slowly, like motor getting slowed down, and start again, moving and...
Yeah. And how often between soft and loud and then soft again would it be?
It's not stopping the noise. Still, the noise was okay, but it is going up and down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the sound that you were hearing, did it have, was it a low sound or a high sound?
Both them high sound, yeah.
Both?
Yeah.
You say both?
The low, when the noise get up
I see.
and
Yeah.
get down, it's still very loud.
And do you remember whether, let me ask it this way, was the same noise coming from both sets of vents at each end of the lobby, or was the noise more in one set of vents?
To be honest, I just feel in our floor, and also I feel just because it was very loud, we didn't feel that other side was the same or not, but the noise was mostly in our side.
Yes. Now, going back a little bit in your statement and in time, at page 5 of your statement, paragraph 24, you say the contractors carrying out refurbishment works on the tower had installed a new ventilation system which ran every few hours to refresh the air. There were occasions when it would get stuck and it would make a lot of noise. This happened frequently, and it seemed to happen particularly on Friday evenings. We usually had to wait until Monday for someone to come out and repair it. Now, I'm interested in what you mean when you say stuck. When you say it would get stuck, can you describe what would happen?
I mean, when it was automatically open by themselves, and it was still keep open. I don't know how long was the turn of when it was open.
Right.
But it was when maybe it is 10 minutes was open to change the hair from the floors, and after that automatically got open. But when most of the time when it is automatically open, is not closed back. It was stuck open.
I see.
And after maybe 10 minutes is not closing back by themselves automatically. The noise is starting afterwards. And I noticed the ventilation is stuck,
Right.
open.
And when the ventilation was open,
Yeah.
was the noise continued? Did
Yeah,
it?
because I feel the hair was coming.
Right.
Yeah.
And on those, on occasions like that, at times like that, did you hear the sound going louder and softer in the same way?
Sometimes it was the same,
I see.
one level.
Right.
But the night of the fire, it was loud and going down and up.
Right. Had you ever heard that down and up before?
Once. Maybe twice.
I see. Yeah. And do you know?
It was quite familiar for me because I always been at home, especially during the day when that has happened. My husband and Farhad was at work,
yes,
or he was at uni. I always been at home and I completely know, familiar for me what happened to that. And straight away I called Timo. This has happened again. And I reported for them to come and please stop this noise.
And on that subject, you had discussions with the TMO, because you say at paragraph 26, if we can look at it, well, 25 perhaps is the best place to start, just before 26. You say, I remember that on an occasion, this is paragraph 25, I remember that on an occasion when an engineer was sent to our floor by the TMO to fix the ventilation system, I spoke to him. He was a middle-aged man in a dark navy jacket, which I think had TMO written on it. The engineer had been on the floor above us working on the ventilation motor to stop the noise. When you spoke to the man, did he tell you what the problem was with this ventilation system?
They are not working in 23rd floor because there is no way by the left to go to the roof. They always come to the top floor and 23rd floor, and after that they use the stairwell. There was a small door on the top of the wall next to the roof.
Yes.
Before the refurbishment, they put ladder on there, and they use that. And there is no gate also there. But a few months before they start refurbishment, they put a gate there, and with grill, always was locked. I'm sure that the key was only with the team's hands.
Right.
They will open that. When we called to stop the ventilation, because the motor of those ventilation was on the roof, exactly on top of my bedroom. I could hear the motor as well. They said the motor is on the roof. There is two big, strong motors. One of your side and the other is on the other side of the ventilation, the other side of our floor. They wanted to go there and fix it from the roof, not in our floor. And I just watching when they used the lift, because I was waiting extremely they are coming as soon as possible to stop that noise. I was keep looking, they are coming or not. Suddenly I saw the man with the TMO uniform. But I told him, have you found out to stop that noise? He said yes. We sorted out, and I asked them why it is always happen during the weekend. Mostly it was Friday. I don't know what is linked to the fire alarm or something. They said because the teenage people coming and they turn off the fire alarm and they are smoking. They don't want the smoke alarm coming on and make a noise. And the ventilation when is start to open to take out the smoke, it is stuck. I don't know, I'm not sure what is the ventilation system links to the fire alarm. He told me something like that, but I don't know exactly what happened.
No, that's very helpful. Who would be the people who would be able to switch off the smoke alarm or fire alarm?
Before refurbishment, we had reception on ground floor, which security 24 hours was there. They don't allow the teenager boy after school. They are coming and using our staircase. And they are drinking, smoking, and make dirty our floor and put the rubbish, everything. And too many times we complain for the TMO, please bring back the reception for us. We need security because they are doing dirty. There is very dirty, I can't say here. But they didn't listen to us. But when even 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, they were there, still there, drinking and fighting with each other, shouting, making noise. That's why I said they are turning off the fire alarm.
Instead, did the TMO person tell you that outsiders, in other words, non-residents of the tower, have been able to somehow switch off the smoke alarm?
Yeah.
Did he explain to you how they could do that?
No.
Right.
He just pointed on the fire alarm. They said because they turn off the smoke alarm.
Now, we know that Farhad called the TMO and spoke to them, and we've discussed with him this morning all about that call. And I think then he came back into the flat when it was finished. Where were you while he was making that call? Do you remember?
Which call, sorry?
Okay, let me back up a little bit. Farhad called the TMO, the out-of-hours number at the council, in fact, and told them about the vent making a noise.
Yeah.
Do you remember him making that call?
Yeah, because sometimes when Farhad was at home, because he was explained very well to them, I was telling him, please call them to come and report for them.
Yes.
And sometimes when he wasn't at home, I was calling by myself.
Okay. But on that night, on the night of the fire, you come up into the lift, through the lifts, onto the lobby, and you hear the noise. Yeah. And then Farhad called the council. Yeah. When he was making that call, do you remember him making that call?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Where were you while he was making that call?
We were together in the sitting room, but while he was talking, he was walking around the flat.
Right.
And going out in the house or in the lobby, and coming back to the sitting room. He was walking around.
Yes. Okay. He said he went in and out of the flat, into the lobby and back in again.
Yeah.
And he said this morning you were holding the door open for him.
The door, yeah.
That's right, is it?
Yeah. Because I was I wanted to know what happened straight away.
Yes.
I was following Farhad. When he was going there, I want to listen what he's saying, but I couldn't hear because on the phone speakers was loud, not loud. I was waiting what he's saying to me. I keep follow Farhad, always.
Right.
While he was on the phone.
After the call, you say, and this is paragraph 31 of your statement at the bottom of page 6. You say, Farhad asked me what had happened, and I told him that we were still waiting for the TMO engineer to arrive and he should go to sleep. I went back out onto the landing. This time I could smell burning. It smelled to me like burning rubber. At that time, did you see any smoke on the landing?
No.
No.
It was clear.
Okay. And you then say at paragraph 33 on page 7, after you've described going back to bed, you say, I could now see bits of what I thought were paper or debris on fire flying around in the air. Saber got out of bed and said, yes, there is a fire. Which window did you look out of? Was that your bedroom window?
My bedroom.
And your bedroom faces north, I think?
Yeah, towards the academy.
Yes. And when you saw this debris flying around, was it at the level of your window or above or
lower,
below?
Lower.
Below?
Yeah.
Right.
Below
How far below? Do you remember?
I couldn't remember, but at that time, I think it was windy. The fire was going around and...
Yeah. And at that stage, I think you'd already said, you already thought you wanted to leave the flat and go down.
I was feeling something is wrong, but
right.
we couldn't see the fire because the fire is not on our side. We couldn't see. I was going outdoor to see what happened. At that time, when I checked, the ventilation is still making noise, and I just saw one of the lift wasn't working, out of order. And I came back, I told my husband one of the lift not working, and I smelled something like wire, electric, like the wire is getting hot or burning. I was feeling something like that. And I came back to my bedroom. I told him, it is something wrong. I could feel something, a smell. And he said, it is nothing, come, go to sleep. When I turned next to the window to go to my bed, I watched from the window and I saw the reflection of the fire, but I haven't seen the fire exactly. I told my husband, there is a fire, and also I could hear the people of the tower, maybe the ground floor, was chatting with each other and making noise, but I couldn't hear what they are saying. I said, there is a noise from the people, and I could see the reflection of the fire. Let's go and see what happened. And when Farhad came to my bedroom, what are you saying? I said, Farhad, there is something not okay. Let's go downstairs. We have to see what happened. And still my husband said, there is nothing. They said they are coming. Let's go to sleep. I'm going early morning at work. And I was worried. I couldn't go to sleep. First from the noise, and second when the fire was happening, I wanted to see what happened. And when I told him there is a fire, he get up from his bed and watch from the window. He said, yes, there is a fire. We went to see what happened. Again, I opened the door, outdoor, to see if someone is there coming to ask what happened. I saw my next door, the young girl. She was crying and running from his flat 206. And she said, oh my God, and her mom was behind her. She was slowly walking. I just saw her. She went to a staircase. I straight came back. I told my husband, see, I told you something happened. Our neighbors, everybody is going downstairs. Let's go to see what happened.
Right.
When he saw the fire was, a piece of fire was coming from the train line, and the academy was, he said, yes, get ready to go. And we got ready. When we went out of the outdoor, we locked our door. We wanted to go to the staircase because both left out of order at that time. We said, when we wanted to go to the staircase, at that time I saw too many people came from the staircase, and they opened the staircase door, and they were crying.
Mrs. Neda, again, it's been a long answer, and you've given us a lot of information. Should we take a break now?
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. We'll have a 10-minute break. Mrs. Neda, would you like to go with the usher? And I have to ask you not to talk to anyone about your evidence while you're out of the room. All right? We'll come back at 3:15. Take your time. Right, 3:15, please. You all right, Mrs. Neda?
Yeah, I'm coming.
All right. Yes, Mr. Blitz.
Mrs. Neda, thank you for coming back to us.
Welcome.
And we're going to carry on. Can I ask you please to go to paragraph 34 of your statement on page 7? The first statement. And you say, at the beginning, we got ready to leave. And in the second line you say, Farhad said, don't use the lift. As I left the flat again and went onto the landing with Saber and Farhad, I saw approximately 30 to 40 people coming onto our landing from up the stairs. I asked them what was going on. Now, first of all, can I just take you back to the moment when you left your flat with Saber and with Farhad, intending to go down? Do you remember what the conditions, the air conditions, were like in the lobby at that time?
It was clear.
It was clear.
Yeah.
Did you notice any smoke at all?
Not really.
Did you notice the noise of the smoke vents at all at that time?
Still there was noise.
There was still noise. Was it the same noise as before? Or
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And I think we heard from Farhad this morning that you made it across the lobby and had got into the stairwell when you saw all the people coming up. That's how he, I think, remembers it. Is that how you remember it? Or do you remember seeing the people before that?
No, that one was.
You remember it the same way?
The same time when we wanted to go to a stairway, we saw the people. Not before that.
Right. Okay. Now, you say in your statement, I saw approximately 30 to 40 people coming onto to our landing from up the stairs. Thinking about it again, looking back, do you think it was 30 to 40?
It was too many. I couldn't count it, but the lobby was full of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know any of the people who came up?
Sorry?
Did you know them? Did you know any of them?
Yeah, of course I know them because a long time we were together, see each other on the left and say hello to them. They were our neighbor. I know them.
Do you remember who you spoke to when you met them there?
Yeah. The Iranian ladies, Mrs. Afrasiabi. Yeah, because I know them. She was recently coming on the tower. She got the flat, but we were speaking the same language. We know each other, and also Maryam and her mom. Since I've been on the tower, I know them very well, and the rest of them I know and say hello to them. Yeah.
Do you remember what they were wearing? And not each of them, but in general. Were they wearing night clothes, or did they look ready to leave the tower?
Some of them with night clothes, some of them with jeans. Yeah, it was different, the clothes.
You say, still in paragraph 34, 6 lines down, they told us they had been told to come upstairs. Do you see where you say that? they told us that they had been told to come upstairs as a rescue helicopter was coming for us. Do you remember who said that to you?
Mrs. Afrasiabi.
Mrs. Afrasiabi?
Yeah.
And did she tell you who had told her that a helicopter was coming?
Yeah, when they came up, I saw her. She came up with her sister, and she was using her walker as well. And when I saw her, she straight came to us. And I told what happened. She said, there is a fire, because we couldn't see the fire, just only the reflection of the fire. I asked her what happened. She said, there is a fire and coming to our flats, and we wanted to go down. Someone said, I don't know if the firefighter was there or someone. She told me the firefighter told us, you go up, the helicopter rescue come and rescue. And I told, there is no way out to go to the roof. How they told you? They said, no, I don't know. They said, go down upstairs, the helicopter coming and rescue. And she was keep saying, always asking, why the helicopter is not coming. They told us.
Doing the best you can with that conversation at that time, how sure are you that she said to you that she'd been told by a firefighter that a helicopter was coming to rescue you?
I'm not too sure, but she said,
Okay.
She said to me, but I'm not sure who was.
Can I ask you to look at paragraph 41 of your statement? And this is just looking forward a little bit in time, Mrs. Neda, when you are in your living room and you're having a conversation with Ahmed El-Gwahry, who's in your living room with you at that time, and you say, halfway down that paragraph, when I had asked Mariam why she and her mother had come up the stairs, she had told me that there had been no way out on the staircase because it was blocked with people running from the fire, and they had been told to go up. And again, I know it's difficult to remember exactly, but doing the best you can you remember who Mariam was referring to when she said that they had been told to go up? Who was the they?
Mariam didn't tell me.
Right.
Someone told her to go up, but she told there is no way to go down because full of the people.
Full of people. Right.
The people was rushing to go downstairs. There is no way. I asked Mariam, why you're coming upstairs? Why you're not going down? She said, there is no way. Where I have to go? And the fire is spreading very fast. It has reached my flat. And she was crying. And she says, what we can do? I said, I told her, Mariam, you have to be calm and pray. It should be fine. She says, no, this is not fine. The fire is not, the fire is really bad. I can't wait. Where we have to go? She was keep telling like that and crying, and she was always on the phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember whether Mariam told you that she had been told to go up? She herself?
No. She came by herself.
Can I ask you to go back in your statement to paragraph 35, which is on page 8 of your of your statement. This is, because I'm going back in time, or in time in your statement and in time, this is when you meet the people on the stairs or in the lobby coming up. And you say at paragraph 35, at this time I saw my neighbour from flat 203. Is that Rania Ibrahim you saw?
Yeah.
It is. Did you say anything to Rania?
No.
Did she say anything to you?
No, she just opened the door to see what is going on. And when she opened the door, most of those people who came upstairs gone to her flat. And she closed the door. We came with Mariam and her mom and Afrasiabi in our flat. And we closed the door, but we didn't see how many of those people gone back out and or staying on her flat. We didn't see afterwards.
Now, you go back into your flat.
Yeah.
And you explain how that is with Mariam and her mum and the Afrasiabis. And then you say at paragraph 43 of your statement, in paragraph 9, there was more and more smoke coming inside the flat, and we turned on torches on our phones and started waving them out the window. How soon after coming back into your flat with the four ladies did you notice smoke starting to come into your flat?
When we saw the people was coming, we straight go to, when they told there is no way out, my husband told me, I told you there is no way to go downstairs. We went inside the flat. But there wasn't a smoke at that time.
Right.
It was clear. But afterwards, slowly, the smoke coming to the lobby and underneath the front door was coming to the corridor, because Farhad alternatively going out to open the door and closing back, the smoke coming in our flat.
Right. Was the smoke coming from anywhere else apart from under the door, under your front door?
No.
Do you remember how quickly the smoke was filling the flat?
I can't remember, but I feel the smoke because I couldn't breathe proper, and I opened the kitchen window to take out the smoke. That much was the smoke.
Right. So you tried to ventilate the flat
Yeah.
by opening the kitchen window. Did it
Yeah.
work? Did it help?
No, it's getting worse because the circulation was very easy to the smoke coming in our flat, and it is more smoke.
Right.
And my husband told, don't open the windows because the smoke is coming more.
Did you notice what colour the smoke was?
When we wanted to leave, with Farhad, when we opened the door, I thought there was very dark,
I'll come to that.
greasy, like shiny, and I could see and the light of our corridor was still on. When we opened the door, the smoke was running slowly like this,
Yes.
and came inside our flat. I saw the color of the smoke was very dark gray, like black, even black. And we even couldn't see what is inside the corridor.
Yes. And you say, paragraph, and this is when you opened the door to go out.
Yeah.
I just want to follow that up. In your statement, paragraph 51, page 11, you describe the smoke as dark grey, shiny and thick.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain, you say, but it looked like glitter when we opened our front door.
Yeah.
And you just described that. So you had the light behind you, is this right, from
Yeah.
your flat, your apartment,
Yeah.
the hall. And could you see, when you say you could see, it looked like glitter, what is that? What is that?
It is not exactly glitter,
No.
but it was very shiny, like the glitter was, when you put on the, under the light, it was reflecting the shine, like
Right.
that.
So could you
It
see
seemed-
little... Sorry.
Yeah, it seemed like that, but it's not exactly glitter.
No.
It is like example I give you.
Right. And you say it looked very greasy and had a really bad taste, which was a mixture of hot and sour. The smoke started burning my throat immediately, which caused me to vomit and choke. This is at the time when you're going into the lobby with Farhad.
Yeah, when we left the
Yeah.
flat. Yeah.
Before that, when you're still in your flat, was the smoke as thick as that?
In the corridor, not was smoking,
Right.
but not that much was in the corridor, the lobby. But it still was. It was reached up to Farhad's bedroom, and the sitting room and the kitchen still was smoky, but was more clear.
Did you notice the glittery
No.
part of the smoke when it was in the hall, inside your flat? You didn't? No. Can I just show you paragraph 44 of your statement, Mrs. Neda? And this is still when you're in the flat before you leave. Halfway through that paragraph, you say, he said, that's, I think Sabir said, that he had been told that this would help to reduce the fire. When we opened the taps, there was no water. Sabir told us that there was no water, and we only had one bucket of water. I remember seeing his face at this point, and he had a look of what I would describe as hopelessness. Did you yourself open the taps? Did you try them?
Yeah, when we wanted to open the tap, Sabir was in the kitchen next to the sink. He opened the kitchen tap. I wanted to go to the bathrooms. There was no water. I came back. I told there is no water. And Sabir, when we saw the water pressure was very low, and nearly to stop running the water, and we had just half of the bucket water, and Sabir told the water, there is no water. We just only have that much.
So you went into the bathroom and tried the taps yourself?
Yeah.
And there was no water in the taps?
No.
And how, and this is difficult, I know, but how long before you left the flat did you realise that there was no water coming out of the taps?
I'm not sure about the time, because every time everybody call us and tell everything, but I think I'm not sure who told Farhad or Saber. I'm not sure. They tell us to open your tap water and leave everything if you have. You can make wet your carpet, everything. After that, we start to open the tap. Maybe 20 minutes after we get back to the
Right.
flat, maybe.
Right. And you describe it in your statement, paragraph 49, which is on page 10, that you made the decision to leave the flat. You say, Farhad took my hand and I called to Saber and said, we are all leaving. As we left the flat, the smoke alarm started going off. Do you remember who made the decision that you should all leave the flat?
Farhad. Yeah.
And when you left the flat, do you remember who opened the front door?
Farhad.
Farhad. And then you go into the smoke and you describe the smoke for us. Before you left the flat with Farhad, do you remember whether any firefighter had come up to your floor at all?
We haven't seen none of them. Nobody. I'm sure none of them came up to 23rd floor.
Yes.
We haven't seen.
Now, going back to paragraph 51 of your statement, which we looked at a moment ago on page 11, you've described the smoke with this glitter and its taste and smell. Were you able to breathe it at all?
No, it was very difficult. When we first get inside the smoke, I was pushed myself back. I told Farhad I am not going.
Yeah.
It is very difficult. How we can go inside this? He encouraging me to come. We have to leave there. But when we went inside, straight away we wanted to block our breathing. We start coughing, and our eyes was, it was really difficult to open our eyes, sourcing, like burning, and our voice was cut off. We couldn't speak, and also I feel sick, and I wanted to vomiting like that, but it was difficult to breathe, and we put the wet cloth on our nose and mouth to not.
Yes. So were you wearing a towel over your head or just in front of your nose and
No,
mouth?
just I taken my mouth and my nose.
Right. And was the towel wet?
Wet, yeah.
It was wet. When you crossed the lobby with Farhad, and you got to the stairwell door, do you remember whether it was closed or whether it was open?
I don't know, because Farhad leading me, Mom, I know, although I can't see, everywhere was dark and full of smoke. He was touching the wall. There is a wall, and now you can turn left, and this is a stairwell. I don't remember when Farhad opened the door, the staircase door. It was open or closed. I couldn't see. There was.
And when you got into the stairwell, do you remember whether the smoke was the same as in the lobby or more or less?
It was dark, too dark. I couldn't see anywhere.
Right.
I think it was the same, or maybe much better. Not sure.
Were you able to open your eyes and look around, or did you have to keep them?
No, we just close and open because we couldn't see. When we wanted to open our eyes anymore, we can't see anywhere. So it is better to keep close our eyes, at least not getting blind or something. And when we wanted to open, it is very runny and get wet.
Yeah.
And when we wanted to dry our eyes, the smoke was get inside our eyes. We prefer better to keep close our eyes.
When you got into the stairs, did you notice a change in the temperature around you?
To be honest, I never think and feel about the temperature. I'm not sure about the temperature what was the temperature, because we were thinking about how to get out. We couldn't feel any temperature.
No. Sure. And you came down the stairs, and I think you stumbled at around about the 18th floor, you say in your statement.
Yeah.
And it's paragraph 54 on the same page, just a little bit lower down. You say, I remember that around the 18th floor, I stumbled, and he thought I had fallen. Farhad turned on the light on his mobile telephone. My question is, how did you know that it was around the 18th floor?
Because when we walk around, we pass the staircase.
Yeah.
It is not exactly, but at that time we walk too many stairs.
Right. So you were counting the flights of stairs?
We couldn't count.
No.
But we feel we were around that one because we feel the time we couldn't see the time, but the time we are walking to go downstairs, it looks like how many floors we gone down.
And on your journey down the stairs, Mrs. Neda, did you notice any doors to any other lobbies open?
I didn't see anyone, but I think it took too long to get downstairs. But I feel when we reached half of the tower, it was maybe around half of the tower. One of the staircase was open, and we said, at least we have to go there. There is not smoke that much, and was in the staircase. We went there to rest and take a fresh air. Although there was smoke, but to me, there looks like clear, the lobby. We just used that floor for a while, not for a few minutes, not too long. At least we have to have fresh air.
Right.
Yeah, that was open. The rest of them I didn't see.
Okay. Do you remember whether on that floor you saw the air vents when you went in?
Yeah. We just sat next to that.
Do you remember whether they were working?
I don't know.
Don't remember. You don't remember whether the little doors to the air vent system on that floor were open?
No, I couldn't see, because at that time we were very struggling to breathing and coughing. We were look after ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. You then describe in your statement at paragraph 62 on page 13, just jumping ahead, that you say, I do not know which floor we'd reached, but we were nearly down. Maybe it was the 6th, 5th or 4th floor when I felt someone grab me. I asked Farhad if it was him and he said no. He told me that it was the fire brigade and they had a hold of him as well. Can I just ask you how you think it was the 6th, 5th or 4th floor? Could you see the numbers on the wall by that stage?
No. But we feel, because after we find out the fire brigade, they grabbed us. We didn't go down that much longer. We soon reached to the it was third floor walkway, and that's why I feel it was maybe 6th or 5th floor, or maybe less than that, because when she grabbed me, we just maybe 2 floors down, gone down,
Right.
and after that there is no fire and no smoke.
Yes, I see. And you say, in the next paragraph, 63, in the last sentence, she, that's the female firefighter, asked me where I'd come from, and I told her that we had come from the top floor. Did you tell her that there were still people up on the top floor?
I didn't tell her, but Farhad told them,
Right.
both of them.
Do you remember seeing a firefighter writing down the flat number and floor number?
No.
Okay. Now, paragraph 66, and this is now outside the tower, you say at the bottom of page 13, when we got outside of the tower, I had recovered some consciousness and Farhad and I were both crying. Farhad told them that his father was stuck on the 23rd floor. Do you remember who Farhad spoke to at that time?
The firefighter.
Firefighter. Do you remember whether that firefighter took a note at all, or record?
No. They were walking around, just asking, and when Farhad told, they says, we will do. The people are gone for rescue. You have to be relaxed. That's it. They didn't write down.
Do you know what that firefighter did in response to the information that Farhad was giving him?
I'm not sure.
At 67, you say, I spoke to a firefighter. This is on page 14. 67. You say, I spoke to a firefighter and he asked me what floor I had come down from and if there was anyone else up there. Farhad and I were crying, and we told the firefighter that Sabir was stuck in our flat, and we asked them if they could go up. He told us not to worry and that they would go and rescue him. How long had you been outside the tower, do you think, before you spoke to the firefighter and told him that?
When we got out, they sat me down next to ground floor, opposite ground playground, and they are Yeah.
Right.
I told they are coming to give me the oxygen. I was crying, and they told me, are you okay? I said, no, I'm not okay. My husband is stuck on the top floor with other people. They said, don't worry, there is the rescue. The people will rescue them. Don't worry.
Right. Do you remember whether that firefighter took a note of what you said to confirm the
I
floor and
haven't
flat?
seen. They haven't got any pen and paper with them. Just they were walking around and asked. I think they might pass to each other.
Right.
That's it.
Did you see the firefighter pass that information to anybody else?
No.
And when you came outside, I think you were treated by paramedics.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long it took for them to come to you to treat you after you left the tower?
I'm not sure what time we got out, because the time is not fixed to me, but now I understand it was maybe 2:30, around 2:30.
Yes.
But we sat down until 5 o'clock, maybe 5 or 5:30 in the morning, because I saw the day is getting brighter that morning. I was there until that time.
Did anybody suggest taking you to hospital before that time?
No. After 5 o'clock, my breathing was getting worse and worse. I wasn't able to speak, and even I was breathing and my shoulder was moving. And one lady saw me. They said, this lady is not looking well. Yesterday she called ambulance, and they came. They took me to the ambulance, and I was getting inside the ambulance by myself until we reached to the hospital. And after that, I didn't know what happened.
Right. And where were you when you were collected to be taken to hospital?
We sat nearest to the Latimer Road station, but when in the morning, the weather was quite cold there. Everybody was shaking. There was across the road, there was a pub. They opened the door pubs and send us to there. At least we get warm. And the ambulance took me from there afterwards.
Mrs. Neda, I've come to the end of my questions for you. I'd be glad to hear. I'm going to ask the chairman to rise for a few minutes, just so that I can check my notes and make sure that nobody else has got any questions for you. So I'm going to ask him to break for a few minutes. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, of course. We'll break until 4 o'clock.
That's all.
So if you'd like to go with the ushers, Mrs. Neda, they'll look after you. All right? Thank you. Right, 4 o'clock then, please. She's on her way. All right, you happy to answer a few more questions?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Millett?
Mrs. Neda, thank you for coming back. I only have one question. It's a final question for you.
Okay.
And it's this. Is there anything, in addition to your two witness statements, and in addition to what you've told us today, about what you saw on the night, or heard, or smelt, or felt on the night itself, that you think it's important for the chairman to know?
Yeah. I just want to say, stay put means we will do something for you, or we are here to help you. Those people who died in the night of the fire, the only cause of the death, it is the stay put policy. If they didn't believe the fire brigade and the stay put policy, they are not trusting them and not listening to them, I'm sure they will be alive, including my husband. And the fire brigade has to take the responsibilities for their mistakes, which is this mistake destroyed my life, my son's life, and also all people in the Grenfell Tower, either they died or survived, all of them now destroyed their life. I'm not saying just for my husband, I'm not standing just for my husband. As I remember those children who died on the tower, the mothers, the fathers, brothers and sisters, all of them. When I remember them, I'm not only standing for my husband, I'm standing behind them as well, because they are not alive to give their voice. My voice should be from them as well. And I want from you justice, and I'm sure I couldn't get even the justice has been done. I'm sure I didn't get my husband back, or the family who lost their family as well. They didn't give them back, but at least they should change the policy to not happen for future. And if they stay with this policy, I'm sure nobody trusts them anymore. And it caused more mistakes and caused more the people dying. That's it. I want justice.
Thank you. Mrs. Neda, thank you very much. And thank you very much to you for coming here today and giving us your evidence. I know at times it's not been easy But we're very grateful to you for coming and assisting us with our investigations. So thank you very, very much to you and to your son, Farhad.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'd like to add my thanks to that. You've obviously had a really horrible experience, and the loss of your husband is something which I think none of us can really understand. But we are very grateful to you for coming to tell us about what happened, because it's important that we know these things. And I'm sorry if it's been a disagreeable experience for you, as I think it probably has, but we are very grateful to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Right. And now, if you'd like to go with the usher, she'll look after you. Now, Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Chairman, it's been a long day, and I fear I must tell you that we will not get to the end of our proposed reading list of witness statements to be read in. So I'm afraid that's disappointing, but we felt that it was important that both witnesses today should be given as much time as possible to give us their evidence.
Yes.
And I don't regret that. However, there is one statement that is so closely linked to the events on that floor on that night that I'm going to read it in.
Yes, thank you.
To the record. And I don't know how long this will take, because there's quite a bit of it I do want to read in, so that you get a sense of it.
Make sure you do it justice, obviously.
I will certainly do it justice, to the extent that I can do it justice, Mr. Chairman. But it may take 20 to 30 minutes or so bear with me. But if we sit a little bit beyond 4:30, I hope that won't be too much of a problem.
I'm quite content to do that. That's all.
I'm very grateful. It's the statement of Mr. Ahmed El-Gwahry, which is IWS 988, and it runs from page 1 to page 93 because it 96, because it includes a lengthy and useful exhibit. It's dated the 25th of July 2018, and Mr. El-Gwahry's statement carries a statement of truth at page 24 over that date. Mr. El-Gwahry was the brother of Mariam El-Gwahry, about whom you've heard quite a bit today, Mr. Chairman, and she lived at flat 196 on the 22nd floor.
Yes.
And I should say, first of all, that this statement and its exhibit will stand in its entirety as evidence to the inquiry and will be taken into account in its entirety. I'm going to start, if I can, at page 58, paragraph 58, which is on page 17, under the heading Refurbishment Windows. And he says this: during the refurbishment, the windows were replaced. When I lived in the tower, the windows were single glazed and you could slide them open. They had a metal frame and you could slide open the window fully. With the refurbishment, they added double glazing, which I thought was great for my mum and sister, although I never thought the flat felt cold. But when they put the new double glazing in, they repositioned the windows, pushing it back so you effectively had more space to lean on before you could look out of the window. An immediate concern with this was how difficult it was to close and open those windows. The windows were not simple to use. They were quite stubborn and did not work properly. Some of the windows in the living room would never fully lock, so it would close, but the handle would never fully lock in and never fully click. With the new windows, you could feel a breeze coming in. It was like a flow of air coming, especially in the living room. We found the flat colder, not warmer, after the refurbishment. The TMO told us the purpose of installing the new windows was to provide better insulation, but that was not achieved. On the weekend, I visited my mother, and the window was partially hanging off the hinges, and my mum had to get a blanket or towel to cover it. This was a brand new window which had, quotes, come off the hinges, quotes unquotes, as stated by Mariam in an email. I recall we could not close it. My mum and sister contacted the TMO and were blamed for breaking it. My mother could hardly use her hands, and it was impossible for her to break the window, let alone grip the handle. The window was not completely off, but it was hanging off. My sister wrote to the TMO, and I exhibit emails about this, and he gives the reference. On another occasion, we could not close the window properly. My sister sent emails concerning the problems and contacted a resident called William Thompson, who lived on the lower ground floors. My sister sent an email to Willie to raise concerns at a meeting she was not able to attend that day. She explained in the email that you could hear a whistling noise from the breeze coming through the window. Ryden was the contractor, and someone came up and accused my sister of not closing the flap at the top. This was a false accusation, and again she felt fobbed off. Can I pick up the events of the night in Mr. El-Gwahry's statement at page 2 on paragraph 5? And there's quite a lot of this, but I'm not going to read it all, but I'll read quite a bit of it. 14th of June 2017, at home. The night of the fire, I had met Mariam and spent the evening with her at my house with my son and Fazana. We were planning to meet as a family over the weekend, and we spoke to my mother via FaceTime. Mariam left after 9 p.m. and drove home to the tower. I went to bed several hours later. My wife Fazana woke me up and told me that she had missed calls from Mariam. She told me to check my phone. As I checked my phone, Mariam called me. The first call I answered from my sister was at 1:43 a.m. I had also a missed call from her at 1:33 a.m. and a WhatsApp message at 1:35 a.m. which said, "Ahmed, please answer, please. There's a fire in the building." I have a copy of my phone records for the 14th of June 2017, which I exhibit at AE1. My memory of this conversation is blurred. Mariam said, "The kitchen is on fire." I froze. I was in shock. I immediately questioned why there was a fire in the kitchen, because my mum would always turn off the appliances in the entire flat, including turning off the switches. I responded to say, "Just get out of the building, just get out." She didn't disagree. I asked Mariam if my mum was with her and asked if they were both okay. She replied saying, "Yes, I'm with mum." I can't remember whether she said that she was still in her flat at that point. I quickly told her, "I'm on my way," and put the phone down. When I got off the phone, I quickly got dressed. I turned to my wife, Fazana, and just said, "I feel sick." I just knew something was not right. The fact that the kitchen was on fire was not normal. Before I left the house, Mohammed Rasool called me. Mohammed is a good friend of mine, and he lives in flat 25 on the 5th floor of the tower. He told me that he was already out of the tower with his family. He told me they were taking him to Kensington Leisure Centre. He didn't explain the severity of the fire on the phone, but perhaps he might not have known at that point or didn't want to worry me. I said goodbye to my wife, ran down the stairs, opened the front door and ran to the car. In the car. And then at paragraph 9, picking it up there, he says, "Mariam called me at 1:48 a.m., but this was only a 5-second call and I can't remember the conversation. Mariam called again at 1:49 a.m., and this was for a minute. I think this is when she told me that she had tried to go downstairs, but couldn't, as there were others going back upstairs and were telling her to go back up. I don't know how far down the stairs she went. She said that the neighbour in flat 205 had let her and my mum in. Flat 205 was on the 23rd floor, on the floor above my mother. It seemed odd to me because fires never spread in Grenfell Tower. We had experienced fires over the years and they never spread to nearby flats, and so I was thinking, what the hell is going on? I said to Mariam, "I'm on my way. Is Mum with you?" She said that she was. I tried to reassure Mariam by telling her that Mohammed Rasool and other residents that I knew were out of the tower safely. I also told her that the firemen were on their way. Arrival at the tower. Having received a phone call from Mohammed and Patrick, I knew that there was something seriously wrong. I got into my car and I took the A406 route from Hendon towards Grenfell Tower. As I got closer to the tower, I noticed that the traffic had started to increase significantly. I got there at 2:13 a.m. I know that as I called my sister. I was approaching the area by Stoneleigh Road, but it was gridlocked from there. I remember seeing ambulances, fire engines, police cars, and normal vehicles, which I presumed belonged to other relatives or friends who were rushing to get there, as I was. I found a space as soon as I turned into Stoneleigh Road, and I parked the car. I called my sister and said, "I'm here, just hold on." I drove down St Anne's Road, which was already packed with cars, and there were lots of people standing around on the pavements. I turned right and parked at Stoneleigh Place, as it was the first parking space I could find. I couldn't drive down any closer to the tower because there were so many police cars, ambulances, and fire engines around. I started sprinting down Stoneleigh Place onto Serdar Road. As I was sprinting, I felt like I wasn't even moving. I was freaking out. Mariam called me at 2:13 a.m. This was a 3-minute call, and I think this was when I was running down the road to get to the tower. I can't remember this conversation. When I got to the top of Serdar Road, I could see the east side of the tower. I was completely shocked. The fire was raging. I had never seen anything like it before. It looked like a movie. I couldn't believe that it was real. I could clearly see where the fire had started. At that point, the fire had spread diagonally from the side that it had started. The fire was spreading so quickly, it was as if the whole tower was covered in tissue paper because of how fast it was spreading. I was horrified. From the east side of the tower, I could see my mum's kitchen and part of the living room was completely on fire. As I looked at the fire, I made an immediate judgment call that if my family didn't try to get out, then they were going to die. I knew then that it was going to be a case of them dying inside their flat or to die trying. Inside the fire command vehicle, I started to run down Grenfell Road, and suddenly a police officer tried to stop me from running any closer to the tower. I was waving my phone at him, shouting something along the lines of, "My sister is in there, my sister is in there." I can't remember what the police officer said, but I believe he told me to go with him, or at least directed me to where I should go. I could see firefighters with hoses spraying the water at the tower. And then picking it up at 15, he says, "The policeman took me to what I could only describe as the fire command vehicle. I do not know if it was the closest emergency vehicle, but it was on Grenfell Road. I do not know where my sister used to park her car. Inside the fire vehicle, I was standing in a really confined space with one other firefighter and policeman. We both stood next to each other, and he was the only firefighter I spoke to that night. I don't know what his name was. The firefighter was holding a board which had all the floor numbers and flat numbers in the tower. I'm unable to confirm whether this board contained the layout of the floors and flats pre or post refurbishment. My initial thought was that he'd taken it from the reception in the ground floor of the tower, but then I realized at a later date that they only had that board on the ground floor by the lifts before the refurbishment on what was known as street level. He was analysing the board. At this point I realised how unprepared the fire brigade were. It was clear the fire services couldn't keep up with how fast the fire was spreading. I was still on the phone to my sister and I said to her, "Look, I'm going into the fire engine, just hold on." And then at 18, I was inside the command vehicle with a policeman and firefighter. The firefighter started providing advice, such as to tell Mariam to lay low with her nose touching the floor and to go to the bathroom and inhale the drain. He asked, "Does she have a wet towel? Can she block smoke coming in?" and so on. Mariam sounded like she was cooperating because she would say, "Hold on." But I really do not know what she was doing because she never rejected the recommendations but listened and acknowledged what she was being told to do. I asked if there was anything else, as it just did not sound enough. And finally, when all was said, the firefighter told me to tell Mariam to call 999. I looked at him in complete disbelief. I think I actually laughed in shock and said, "You have to be kidding me." When I told Mariam, she too reacted in complete shock. With all due respect, he is part of the fire brigade services that should be providing instructions, and yet he was telling me to call 999. The firefighter looked at me and said he didn't have anything else to say. He was speechless. He knew that he couldn't help my mum and sister anymore. He almost turned away and started ignoring me when I asked further questions. This was extremely difficult to comprehend, especially when I knew my sister was still on the phone and felt that when I arrived I was going to help in some way, when the fact of the matter is I couldn't. At this point, I thought about running into the tower again to try and save them. I then remembered the policeman's look at me, also aware of the way the firefighter was behaving, and understood there was nothing else that could be said. He looked at me and escorted me out of the vehicle, and we walked to Bowmore Road next to the Kensington Leisure Centre. inside the cordoned-off zone, Bowmore Road. At some point, when on Bowmore Road, the policeman started to cordon off the area. I remained inside the cordoned-off area the whole night. I was by the emergency services on Bowmore Road, facing Kensington Leisure Centre. From where I was standing, I could not see flat 205, which was where my mum and sister were. Flat 205 was on the north and west side of the tower. Where I was standing, I had full visibility of the east side of the tower. On this side, you can view the kitchen window and the living room partially for flat 196, where my family lived. I could see the building completely filled with fire, blue flames, and people inside. There was just the most disturbing screaming that I've ever heard in my life. You could see this little water hose against this big flame and thinking, what the hell's that going to do? I did not mean to be disrespectful to the firefighters. It seemed they didn't have the resources. What they had was insufficient to the task. A little while later, the police said that we needed to move further back, away from the tower. I told them, I know that you can't help me, but at least you can leave me to talk to my sister whilst looking at the tower. I was in my own bubble. I was in a complete state of shock. The police officers had accepted that I wasn't moving from this spot, so they agreed and left me there. I was now only with police officers in this cornered-off area. I didn't want to risk walking all the way round to the north and west side of the tower, where I could see flat 205, just in case any of the roads were blocked off. And then he describes Mariam's, or refers to Mariam's emergency calls. And we have those transcripts in the record. Yeah. And then picking it up at page 9, just above paragraph 28, on the phone to Mariam in flat 205. I called Mariam at 2:29 a.m. for 4 seconds, but I think it went to voicemail. I called Mariam again at 2:30 a.m., but she didn't answer. I now started to really panic. Mariam called me at 2:31 a.m., and that call was for 1 minute. We didn't even talk about the 999 calls. Mariam clearly didn't want to worry me. I asked her, can you see fire where you are? Can you look out of the window? She said, no. I can only see smoke at the moment. I said, okay, how many are with you? She said there were 6 or 7. She obviously at that time was confident in moving around that flat, and she seemed quite calm. She said, we are all here. I asked her if she could leave. She said, no. Outside the flat it's just full of black smoke. We have no vision and we can't see where we're going. She refused to leave, no matter what I said to her. I couldn't take the risk of saying to her, you need to go or you're going to die, and even if you go, you might die, because I had no idea what the state of the stairwell was. I also kept asking her, can you see the fire? She said no. I asked where they were, and she said, I'm in the kitchen now. I've done everything that I've been told to do. I've got a wet towel. We've got a towel under the kitchen door. It's sealed, and we are just sitting. I continued to try to persuade her to leave with Mum, but she refused. No matter what I told her, she refused. The other thing the firefighter told me when I was in the command vehicle was to tell her to lay flat on the floor with her nose touching the floor, so I told her that too. I also said to her, if there's any smoke, I would rather you do not talk to me. Just save your breath, cover your mouth, leave the phone lines open, and so let them know you're still there. I wanted to try and keep giving her... I wanted to try and keep... And I gave her false hope. I just lied to her, basically. And I said, they're coming for you. And I said, don't worry, you know Mohammed's out, other people are out. I can see people are coming out. They're coming to get you, so don't worry, they're all coming. They're coming out. I just started getting desperate without trying to scare her, because I could not see or feel what she was going through, her or my mum. I never spoke to my mum that night because I just knew that she would be freaking out, and my sister said she was freaking out. I knew that I had to speak to my sister because she's the only one that will remain calm with me. I said to her, why don't you try to get out? And she said, no, I'm not going to. I won't be able to see. It's all black. I'm not going out there. I said, why don't you at least grab Mum? You know the layout of the flat. We've been there long enough. If you know the layout of the flat, why don't you just use your hands and just get on your knees and just get out? I told her that she knew where the stairs were, and she said no. Part of me thinks that the reason why she did not have that confidence to leave was maybe to do with the fact that she had our mum with her. My mum is disabled. She cannot run fast. She cannot even walk fast, so I think she must have had it at the back of her mind. Maybe if she was on her own, she would have done it, but there was no way she would leave Mum. Sounds and others in flat 205. I could hear coughing in the background. I never heard other people talking, but I did hear coughing. I could hear helicopters in the background, went on the phone to Mariam. At no point in my conversations with my sister could I ever hear a fire alarm, but I heard helicopters because they were near Mariam and my mum. There were moments of just silence between me and my sister, because it got to a point where I had nothing else to say to her. I was trying to keep my sister calm. At times, my sister started to freak out, saying, "We've been waiting here 45 minutes. Where the hell are they?" I could only tell her the same thing, which is, "They're coming. Just hold on." That is all I remember. I just kept on telling her. I tried to stay calm and checking if Mum is okay. My wife and many others were trying to call me, but I knew that if I disconnected the phone call to my sister, that I will never be able to call her back. So I just did not answer the phone. The last phone call from 2:33 a.m. The last phone call was from 2:33 a.m. I hung up the phone at 4:27 a.m. During this phone call, it was pretty quiet. There were no fire alarms going off. I could hear coughing, but I didn't hear screaming or shouting. I'm not sure whether my sister was lying down on the floor for the whole time or not. I became very concerned because her coughing was beginning to increase. I was really panicking. I was so desperate for her to get out of the flat and said to her, "Can you at least try to get out?" She said, "No, I can't get out. The landing is filled with thick black smoke and I can't see." I just kept repeating, "Just try to get out, just try to get out." I told her to get on your knees with Mum, stay low, crawl over to the stairwell and just try to get out. Touch the walls to guide yourself out. You know the layout of the flats. She refused and said that she wasn't confident enough to leave. Part of me thinks the reason why she didn't have the confidence to leave is because she didn't want to leave our mum. And at 39, I should read on, who was disabled, who couldn't walk or run fast. I could only tell her to do this, but I had no idea how bad the smoke was in the stairwell. Mariam was quiet, but then said, "Oh my God," and freaked out. She never said if she saw fire. I do not know whether she could see the fire at the windows or smoke coming in through the kitchen door. I do not know. I was starting to think that the smoke was coming in that way or through the sliding wooden doors which separate the kitchen from the living room. I know that the kitchen was the last area to be affected because I could tell from seeing where the fire was affecting my flat. I knew if she is okay in the kitchen, that must mean that the fire is wrapping around the tower, and the last area to be covered in the fire is that side, which means that the bedrooms in the flat are all getting set on fire. I asked her if anyone was with her in the kitchen. She said yes. I do not know if there were still 6 or 7 people, but that was the number she gave me. That brief panic happened so quickly. She started coughing. I could hear more people coughing. I said, "Don't talk, Mariam, just stay with me." And she didn't say anything. She just started coughing and coughing for less than a minute. It was so quick. Then she started mumbling and I started panicking. I said, "Mariam, are you still there?" She started just humming, like deep humming, because she could no longer speak. Then I said, "Can you at least bang on the floor, make a noise?" And I could hear someone just banging. I do not know if it was her, but it must have been her, because every time I asked her to do it, she did it. Then the mumbling, humming stopped, and she stopped responding. That happened very quickly. I assumed that if she was not responding, our mum was gone as well. But then I heard my mum for the first time. I heard her voice. I do not know how long afterwards, 20, 30 seconds afterwards. She just said in Arabic, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." She sounded so desperate. I didn't hear her again. She was gone. I think it was around 3:10 to 3:15 when I lost them. It was clear to me that it was the smoke that they died from, as Mariam was telling me that she could not see fire, only smoke. I think I was on the phone to Mariam for about 40 to 45 minutes before she passed away. Fire breaking in. Around 5 to 10 minutes later, I could hear crackling noises. I could hear the glass windows break. I could hear the fire entering the flat from the window. I will never forget how violent and aggressive it sounded. I could hear it penetrating through the flat and heard bubbling noises. I could hear pots and pans falling and smashing everywhere. I could hear things moving around quite violently, and after that it was just burning. What I did not hear, thankfully, was anyone still alive in the flat when the fire entered the kitchen. I know that whoever was in the kitchen died well before the fire entered that kitchen. I kept shouting down the phone, "Mariam, Mariam." I knew that she was gone, but I thought she might hear me. I was in a complete state of shock. I kept shouting and repeating, "They're coming, they're coming." I was crying my eyes out. It was so distressing, and I completely broke down. I stayed on the phone until 4:27, just listening to the flat being burnt. I stayed on the phone in hope that maybe a firefighter would have made it to the top of the tower to rescue them, but I didn't hear anything. By that point, I had heard enough. After I hung up the phone, I didn't call her again. I couldn't really comprehend what had happened. Mr. Chairman, there is much else in that statement which is important for us to take into account, but I won't read it to you. I think at that moment I should just leave it as it is.
Yes, very well.
So, Mr. Chairman, that brings us to the end of today's evidence.
Before we close, can I just ask, is Mr. El-Gwahry here with us this afternoon?
Yes, he is.
And I'd like to thank him very much for producing such a careful and detailed statement, and to say how sorry we are, not only for his loss, but of the way he had to listen to the last moment, his mother and sister. And it's very good of him to have made a statement of this kind. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that, as I say, brings to a close today's evidence.
Right.
And we will resume with our witnesses on Monday week, taking a short break next week.
Yes, well, thank you very much. As Mr. Millett said, there will be no hearings next week. We shall resume on Monday the 29th of October at 10 o'clock, and at that time we shall hear more evidence from those who were inside the tower. Yes? Thank you all very much.